All right. These Macs have these restrictor plates, or I don't know, whatever you want to call them. That plate right there makes it where you can't drizzle fuel right down the throat of the carburetor, but I'm going to rig up a little piece of Tygon. My dad's got it there. We got like a little condiment squirt bottle. We'll bypass that plate and squirt it down in there and see if, I just want to see if this thing will kick over. If we build any kind of fire in it. Did you? Okay. Yeah, I think I'll just pull that carburetor off. I'm sure the diaphragms are good and crispy in it anyway, so we'll rebuild that. I've got the kit for it. We'll see if it'll pull fuel. Alright, getting this carburetor off. I've got the screws that are holding it in place. These are about long-winded, guys. Real fine threads. Alright, now this is where I'm going to want to be really careful. I need to disconnect my choke lever and my throttle linkage. Fuel line has already been disconnected, but when I go to pull this out, I'm going to want to be very ginger about it because there's a gasket between the carb and the case that I really want to try to keep intact. Okay, got the carb out with success. It's going to be kind of hard to see, but that gasket is stuck right on there and it's still in one piece. I'm going to leave it right exactly where it's at. If I find that I have any problems with it, I'll probably put just a little bit of Moto Seal on it, just how it is. I'll just make sure it's nice and clean before I put it back together. Looks like we are dealing with, what do we got? Walbro HDB L. Yep, that's what it looks like. Alright, well, hopefully the carb rebuild kit that I ordered for this before I looked at the carburetor is the correct one. We'll pull this apart and take a look at it. Alright, got my rebuild kit here. We'll pull the fuel pump side off first. Make sure that we're dealing with the right business here. These don't have to be gorilla tight at all, just enough to compress the gaskets and keep all of these little chambers separate. Boy, that doesn't feel terrible. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. Trying to see if I'm seeing any cupping. It looks like there's very slight cupping with these little one-way valves here, these little flaps. When you see these pedals start to roll up, it means that it's not going to function properly. These need to be able to seat actually up against the body of the carburetor and make a good seal for your different circuits and how your fuel is metered. We'll probably get deeper into that in a different video, but this is actually looking fairly clean. That's not bad. Even that screen right here, you'd normally expect to see some junk in there, but this isn't looking terrible. I'm going to go ahead and pull this the rest of the way apart, shoot some brake clean through it, and put it back together, provided that I have the correct diaphragms in here. Now here's something I haven't seen before. There were two Phillips screws holding our metering lever and all that into place. I've taken those out, so now looks like this whole thing pulls up. I've never seen one assembled quite like that before. So that was a new one on me. Interesting. I'm not sure how that metering lever is going to come off to be replaced. And I'm kind of thinking it's maybe not. I think I'm going to replace that needle. Oh yeah, we've got some other goodies in here that we need to replace too that came along with the repair kit for this. Pull the old needle out. There's the old spring. Be very careful not to lose that. The old diaphragm really seems pretty pliable. I don't know if it's been stretched out of shape, but we're already this deep, so we're going to get into it and swap it out. Pull our needle out. That doesn't look like it's in terrible shape either. See if we got another rubber in here. Yep. Okay, so before, yeah. All right, now we're gonna go to the brake clean, and God, it really just doesn't look bad in here at all. I'd be kind of surprised if this is what was holding up the operation. So I'll clean it out and get it put back together. All right, that portion's back together. New gasket in there, and I'm guessing that my Walbro handy dandy metering lever measuring tool, you should measure with the HD8 side. And as I slide it over, you can see, or maybe you can't, it is just making contact with it. I'm going to call that adjusted appropriately. So now we'll put on our fuel pump, diaphragm, and gasket. Now it's opposite. On your metering side, your gasket goes toward the body of the carburetor. On your fuel pump side, your diaphragm sits right directly against the housing, the body of the carburetor, and then your gasket sits on top of that. We could just go ahead and go through that. Let's see. It's our new diaphragm. And this is one of the ones that you don't hook your little metal tab in. It just rides on top of it. So your metering lever comes up and just bumps it. So I need to follow my own advice here. And we go gasket first. Make sure everything's lined up good. Yeah, this has been an interesting experience. Like I said, I've never worked on a McCulloch before. They've always looked like kind of a jigsaw puzzle to me, and so far, yeah, that's what I'm seeing. Of course, it doesn't help when you're shooting yourself in the feet by not having your ignition switch on when you're checking for spark. Some might call that a rookie move. Life's just way too short. Looks like we just got some extras in here. This was the old piece that was in there. It's going to go away. Old needle. And like I said before, this doesn't have to be Gorilla tight. Just tight enough to compress your gasket, and you should be golden. I like to get them all just snug first. Get in there. I got to feel my way through a lot of this stuff. If If I'm completely honest with you, I can't even see the slots in those screws right now. I know that they're there. So I just use my thumb to kind of help guide the screwdriver on. Or finger or whatever. Okay, now I'm going to just snug. 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 Get on there. Helps if you talk to it too. Get on there. Okay. I'm going to go through that one more time and just make sure that they are good and snug. That's good and snug. Not over tight. Good. Good. Alrighty. Fuel pump side. Let's see here. New fuel pump diaphragm. Let's check it against the old one just to make double sure. Look good to me. All right. Now, there are usually, yep. There's going to be studs. Yep.
The old diaphragm hammered?
No, actually it looked all right to me. So it's going to be interesting. All right. Yep, that's correct. Now my one ways. I'm filming.
That's good.
Yeah.
Two-stroke.
Running a little rich. Alright guys, now before I reinstall the carburetor, I was trying to have me a little peeky, hoping to see if I could see past the rod and see if there is any scoring or anything. The piston itself looks pretty good. Usually if you're going to have problems develop, they'll usually start developing on the exhaust side. I don't think I'm seeing anything alarming in there. See if I can get it better focus here. Yeah, I think we're okay. And I just need to make sure this gasket gets sealed up. This actually feels pretty rubbery still. I should be able to get a good seal out of that. All right, we got everything snugged down real good in here. Do a little function check. Throttle linkage is doing what it's supposed to. The choke setup on this is kind of interesting. Pull the lever on that. It sucks it back up in there where it needs to go. That's good. So I need to reattach my fuel line. And I'm going to put a new filter on this. This is still pliable, but it's just starting to get hard. So we'll see what we can get. So here's another oddball thing that I have never seen before, and probably a big part of why the cell wasn't getting fuel. This thing looks pretty haggard to me. I've never seen a fuel filter situation like this before. I don't know if it's the right solution, but I know what I'm going to try. I'm going to try stuffing this right up in there where that other filter was and see how she does. Honestly, that looks like a good fit to me. So we're going to roll with it. Why not? It's what I have on hand. If it doesn't work, I guess we'll find out, right? I think it's time to fuel this thing up, pull on it, see what happens. All right, you guys are going to get it live. It's either going to go or it isn't. I got faith. These old Macs seem to be pretty resilient machines from what I've seen, so we'll see. Using my preferred EPA compliant filler nozzle. I can't talk and do this at the same time or I'll spill. Alright, so when I reinstalled my needles, my carburetor needles, I adjusted them both out 1 1/4 turns. So if anything, it should be rich, but we should get some fire out of it. Okay, ignition switch on, very important. Choke is on. Nope, here goes nothing. We'll see what she does. That's a very good sign. Drop my hemostats. We're on fast idle. Okay. Fast idle again. Okay. At 1 1/4 out, and it still sounds like it's starving for fuel. We might be dealing with an air leak. Try it again. As soon as I turn the choke off, it dies out. It's getting too much air. Bummer. Looks like we're going to be diagnosing an air leak. I'm going to tighten my carburetor bolts maybe just a 1/4 turn more and see if that cures it. Okay, snugged up my carburetor bolts a little bit. Let's see if that improves our situation here. Okay, we'll try that low jet out just a little bit more. Showing pretty telltale signs of an air leak. Choke's on full. High idle. And immediately runs out of fuel. might try one more half turnout on that load yet. But any further than that, and it's not good. Let's see what that does. Definitely acting like an air leak. Can't really do much to tune the carburetor, and the idle is turned all the way in, so there's no more adjustment trying to bring your idle up, which tells me it's getting air in there. So sounds like I'm getting a new intake gasket and probably a new set of seals. We'll see if that seals it up. All right, I want to try to confirm what I think is going on here. Ignition switch is on. Full choke. inconclusive result there. Well, I think that's pretty telltale of an air leak. I couldn't get it to definitively tell me. Squirt and brake cleaning should kill it right now if you got a good air leak, but considering my idle screw is turned all the way in and my low jet is what, 2 turns out, so I think it's wide open. It's trying to compensate for extra air entering the saw somewhere. So I've got crank seals on the way, and I've got a new carburetor intake gasket. Really the only places we could be leaking air from. So we'll check in when we get those parts, swap them out, see what it does.